Hi, I'm Brian Scott, and today we're at the beautiful rotary viewing platform here on the Dyke Road in Comox. One thing I just want to comment is I don't think people in the Comox Valley realize how much rotary does for the Comox Valley, or a lot of people do, but anyway, it's huge, so I just want to mention rotary. But anyway, this is my favorite time of the year to paint, you know, the fall colors. It makes it really easy for an artist because you can see how the color breaks up the greens. You know, I can remember artists coming out from the prairie and back east, or myself too, just being boggled by all the different shades of green. So this makes it much easier. Now the other thing too is when you're painting, always be aware where the light source is coming from. So the light is coming from left to right, which makes it really easy because you know that all your highlights and where all your highlights and shadows are going to be. Like on the trees, you can see. So all I need to do is the light is on there, and then the shadow. Right? See that? See that? And that just boom makes it three-dimensional. Light, middle, tone, and dark. The three values becomes three-dimensional. Right? Now the overall format that I'm working at here is a system of horizontals and verticals. Now the diagonals are a little bit tricky because there's not a lot of diagonals, so I'm gonna use this piece of driftwood right here for the diagonal in here that's sticking out, because the diagonal is important. See that diagonal of the driftwood coming across? See, so it cuts your eye across this way. So I've got horizontals, and then the bands of color go wide, and then they're getting narrower. That gives you that perspective, eh? So wide, getting more constricted. Also constricts the color too, which makes it interesting. You see how that ultramarine blue, that warm blue, the reflection from the sky, I'm compressing that, which makes it makes it really punchy on the painting. Now the big innovation in the 19th century, which was huge for artists, was the Industrial Revolution. They came up with a machine to put that paint in that tube, because the artist every day had to they had to mix the oils, linseed oil, with pigments before they could paint. So suddenly, bang, it's all in that tube. So that turned them loose. That's why plein air painting started, because they could just do what I'm doing. Now the other big innovation, this is interesting. Up until that time, all the brushes were round. See, I don't even have it, there's one. I don't even use many round brushes. They squashed it with a machine and made a square brush. That's where what we call impressionist brushstroke. Remember that one? Impressionist brushstroke, which is really fun because the way it works, I'll show you how it works. Impressionist brushstroke, what you do is you try and imitate the shapes in nature with the brushstroke. See, so now if you look at these wild roses down here, you see how the leaves have that round shape. Actually, probably should be using a round brush, see, so, but I love the square brush for the simple reason because I can very easily go from getting that impressionist brushstroke to getting a line. See, because I use the edge of that square brush for a line, so it's very versatile. So I can both paint and draw with the same brush. Huge. So remember that, square brushes. And what I do is I give them a haircut. You're going to hear me say that a lot on the show. You see how I've trimmed that brush back. That's a 20-cent brush from the dollar store. That when I give it a haircut, it's a $5 store at the high end. I'm a Scot. What can I say, right? Okay, now the whole game to me is contrast. So I've already talked about some contrast. So horizontals and verticals, wide and narrow. You're always playing one off against the other. So as you're painting, always think of what's the one shows up the other, right? That's the game. So the one shows up the other. So with color, it's cool and warm and complementary. See, so you see And this is what the French Impressionists did too. In their shadows, they always used the opposite colors. So see with the yellows, I'm using purple, yellow, purple. Think of Easter, and then Christmas, red and green, and then orange and blue. So those are the three. And then the hottest color is that red-orange, and the coolest is the turquoise. So boom, boom. Now what I like to do is I like to have a big blast of color in the foreground. So you can see, you know, I've got these, those little red berries that they make tea out of, and then the little snowdrops, they're fun in there. So getting back to French Impressionism, what they did in the shadow, they used the complementary. So there's, in these shadows, I'm using the complementary. Now what I like to do at the beginning of my paintings is establish the light-dark contrast. Now black and white is the strongest contrast. So I established that early on in the painting. The reason for that, makes it easier to see the forms, okay? So you can see how I'm using, establish that light-dark contrast early on in your painting, and it makes it much, you can see in the glacier, see how I'm using that line. Now for the other way to go with line, or you use pointy brushes, right? See, so there's for line, right? So, and line describes the form. So those mountain ranges, see, I can really define the mountains with a line. Line describes the form. See that? Boom, boom, boom. I can get that nice vanishing going all the way up into the mountains up in here, just by the use of line. There's one group of artists, and they said, always stand on the staff of line. I forget whoever it was. Anyway, they got a point. So line. So again, now, okay, line. Okay, so line can be thick or thin. So you can see I've got thick lines in here, and then thin lines going to the background. So the thin lines disappear. The thick lines come forward, right? Boom, boom, boom. Hit it hard. There you go. So thick and thin lines. We've got warm and cool color. We've got changes in direction. Now, okay, now man-made forms are geometric. So you've got the circle, you've got the triangle, and you've got the square in the Holiday Inn here. There's the square. Although I've got some perspective in there. So man-made, and then objects in nature are irregular. So the driftwood, you can see the irregularity of the driftwood in there, right? This one over here too. The same with the flowers. You can really play with that irregularity, which makes it more interesting. See how I'm describing the form with that little pointy brush, right? Line describes the form. Yeah, if you can get that much from me, the idea of contrast. And you can see the light and dark. You see how I'm using that. Now the other thing you want is you want large shapes and small shapes. See, so I've got big flowers and then small. That makes your painting more interesting, right? But the other thing too is it gives it more depth. See, so I've got big shapes, these big wild roses here, large, coming forward, bright colors, pushing forward. Now you can see the advantage of the oils over the acrylics is that texture. If you think of Van Gogh, you see how I'm getting the texture on the paint. You don't, water-based paints dry flat, whereas the oils keep the brushstroke of the artist, which is what fascinates people when they look at a Van Gogh or a Monet. They know, I can tell right away, the difference, the huge difference between Renoir and Monet, or the Group of Seven for that matter. You can tell the way Tom Thompson used the brushstroke, and the other Group of Seven, Jackson and all the rest of them. So that brushstroke is the artist's signature, the way he puts that, and The downside of oils, this painting takes 6 months to dry, which is a real pain. you get paint all over everything because it takes so long to dry, because you become unaware of it, eh? Whereas acrylics dry in 2 days. You can put the final varnish on an acrylic painting in 2 days. Whereas with this, I've got to wait I'm supposed to wait 6 months before I put that final varnish. Now what the varnish does is that the varnish magnifies the color. I use a Solivar varnish. I've played around with varnishes for years, and I finally it's about $85 a liter, but this stuff is just, and you can use it for both oils and acrylics. It's very, very versatile. And I'll talk a bit about the palette. If you ever see a picture of Monet, his palette was huge, because you can see when you're mixing all those gradations, the critical factor on the palette is to follow that spectrum. So it goes cool yellow. It looks like a mess, but it's actually, there's a logic to it. Cool yellow, warm yellow. You can see the oranges, the reds. There's the cool red, the purple. Now the warm blue, cold blue, and there's the turquoise over here. And then going into a cold green. That's more of a neutral green, and then into the, this is the yellow green. You can see I use a lot of white. I'm always adding white. You use more white than anything else, because you can see why. You're getting these gradations of with the colors, especially the dark colors in there. Yeah. Well, the glacier kind of disappeared on me over there, but fortunately I was here early. But yeah, the fall is the spectacular time to be outdoors. Photography, painting, of course, I'm already talking to the converted, because most people in the Comox Valley are aware of that. But as a painter, photographer, the color. And the other thing to always remember is you're going to get the best pictures in the morning and in the evening. See, during the midday, that overhead sun flattens everything out. So you're not gonna get nearly the color effects or the light and shadow. Light and shadow is the game. You can see me playing off, the light against the shadow in there, eh? Hot colors, cold colors. But yeah, it is really amazing being out here. I haven't done any plein air painting for a while, so this is quite a treat. But then let me just show you a little bit more about the light-dark contrast. You got to have lots of brushes. You can see down here I got lots of brushes, because Rotary's going to kill me. I got paint all over their deck. Now, how did I do that? I had no idea. I put a lot of money into Rotary, so I'm sure they'll forgive me, right? Okay. So I'm going to just play with this white a little bit, and you can see it's out there. It's just where the sun is hitting the tops of these things. And the grasses are bleached by the salt. So we're just gonna you see how that little bit of touch along there just really brings it out. And remember, black and white is the strongest contrast. The strongest contrast on the color wheel is the yellow violet. Boom, boom across here. So let's continue on with that. So the bleachedness of the sun, and then the snowdrops in here. I love the little snowdrops. So you get little groupings. The thing I like about the snowdrops is they're a primary shape, which is a circle, and then they're white. So they stand out really nicely. So you can use them to great effect. See, that really establishes my foreground in there with the colors, the wild rose and the thing, and then I can use a full spec. So I've got green, red. So what I could do now is I could work into some purple to make that. I'm just going to look over here. There they are over there. Yeah, I can see some purple in there. So because I want to get some purple to go against the yellow. Let's see if look at that. Boom. You see how the yellows just start to vibrate against that purple. And that's what the Impressionists did. In the shadows, instead of using blacks and grays, they used the opposite color. And that gives it that color energy. See, and it's that color energy that excites me as an artist. And if you're an artist and you're not excited about what you're doing, you've got a problem. The color always tell my students, always put all the colors out on your palette, you know, because you're gonna get excited, and when you're gonna get excited, believe me, you'll do some amazing paintings. How am I doing for time?
10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So let's just. So we've got the red and the green. So we've got the yellow, and then we've already. Let's go with a. Let's go with a. Let's go with the cold blue, which is this guy over here. Let's see what happens if we use that. And you can see it in the water down there too. It's there. That's that cold blue. See, now all the blacks, all that light dark contrast that I used at the beginning is beginning to disappear, because I'm building color into the black. I mean, remember Jack Shadwell used to rail against using black because he said it was like shooting holes in your picture. But I use black because it just makes everything jump, and it especially contrast with the reds, makes the reds really jump out. So I see I'm using that impressionist brush stroke with the square brush. The little lozenges of paint, boom boom. Yeah, you should try that impressionist brush stroke, and you need different sizes of square brushes too. Just get the brushes and then just give them the haircut. See, so let's go along here and we'll try that cool blue, because the cool blue is gonna be complementary to all these oranges, right? So, and just little bits of shadow in there, you know, of the blue. Oh, I didn't discuss underpainting. I don't know if you can see still. Yeah, you can still see the underpainting. So I used there's the white canvas. I used a cool yellow and then a cool red, and then I applied it wet on top of the cool red on top of the wet. So you get that kind of watercolor effect. And then I went over that with a dry brush of black. You see the dry brush under there? Dry brush means you just dry your brush, and it's more like drawing. See, so that worked well. And you can see the dry brush up in the clouds there too. And you can actually incorporate that into the painting. It can work. Artists like Cézanne did that. You could see the underpainting. They show the underpainting. It makes it more interesting. One thing I found really fascinating today, this is the advantage of plein air painting, as Gord was saying. You know, I noticed today that the glacier is, well, from where I'm standing, the glacier is actually higher than the landscape around it. You can't see it right now, but early on this morning, yeah, it was quite a bit higher. I've always put the mountains. Of course, I suppose it depends on where you're standing when you look at it, but from this particular spot, yeah, so I found that interesting that the glacier was higher up. Now let's play with the glacier now. So right along the edge, let's go to the turquoise. We said that's the coolest color, right? So right along the edge I'm just going to put the edge of the ice sheet with the turquoise, right? Because it's the ice on that glacier is really cold. Isn't that nice? See now, see the square brush again. See, so I can go from getting a flat area paint to a line with that same brush. Huge advantage with these square brushes. Like I say, that was a big innovation for the Impressionist painters. So let's go down and see if we can work the turquoise in down here. So cold color. So it'll give us more depth in here with that turquoise. Cold color. Yeah, that worked nicely. So let's see if we can. Yeah, there we go. So in the shadows, you can use the turquoise. Yeah, try turquoise. A lot of people don't even have it in their palette. I'm shocked when I see people painting and they don't have turquoise, because it's just it's a really fun color to play around with. And it'll go next to the white quite easily, right? Because they're close. And of course, the turquoise is the opposite color to my underpainting. You see that orange in there? So when I put the turquoise up against it again, boom, you're getting that color energy, right? So there you go. And then I always put the local mountains in there so people can, so here's Mount Arrowsmith over here. Here's Mount Arrowsmith. There's two peaks. There's one peak that goes in one direction. It's an interesting shape because one goes that way and then the other one goes in the opposite direction. So try if you paint Arrowsmith, look for that. Yeah, it's makes it interesting. So let's continue on. Now, there's the problem with black. See, black is going into my turquoise, which is giving me trouble because it's graying it down. So I got to be careful now. I'm going to move over into here. Okay, so just work on the clouds. Now I always mention too that when I finish my paintings, I shower everything with light. So let's get the yellow out here. I'm going to shower it with light, so that we know the light's coming from over here. So then we can have. So the light's going to be reflecting off these mountains, the yellow, and then off the clouds too. Boom, boom, boom. See that? You can really have fun with the light. So the light's going to hit the glacier. So we'll just see that, and light and shadow. Same with everything. Everything is going to have that. And then again, the same thing with that impression. Now that brush is going dirty on me, so I got to get rid of it and get a clean one. Yeah, you can see how the greens or the yellows are starting to gray down on me here. But you can always add a little bit of white to them to reconstitute them. There, you can see there. Yeah, so. See, the light's bouncing off everything. And what that does too in your painting, if you try using the light, it unifies the picture, and it actually, people have trouble finishing a painting. That's one of the big problems, I think. You know, they get the painting, they get the colors all blocked in, they get the line working, describing the form, but they don't know where the picture ends. And it's that shower the picture with light. You can see on my glasses. See that spectrum, right? It's that so shower the thing with light, and that'll pull it together with the underpainting. So it's the finishing up, and then the underpainting is you're gonna get unity. So you can go crazy with all the colors. You can use complementaries, cool, warm, you know, really get excited, and then the underpainting is gonna hold it together in there. So how am I doing for time there, Gord?
2 minutes or so.
2 minutes? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just review again the crucial thing is always think of the opposite. If you can just, you know, okay, so I'm playing with the line. Okay, so now what's the opposite of the line? So a thick line against a thin line. So start playing with that, because they always play off each other. So if you're using color again, cool, warm, complementary. Direction. You know, if you're playing with a horizontal, think about the verticals, and then to give it more movement, go on to the diagonal. Right? You see that. Now texture. You can get texture in many ways, but texture in nature is everything. Everything is texture. So texture, smooth against rough. Right, so you have smooth areas. You can see the smooth areas in here against the rough areas. So smooth texture, smooth and rough. Of course, light, dark. And again, I'll emphasize that again. I always establish that light-dark contrast early on in the picture. It makes it a lot easier to see the forms as you go along. But then I'll destroy that I know that guy over there. So yeah, I'll destroy that black in the shadows with the complementaries, right? That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, and you can see. And because like what the Impressionists and the Group of Seven did, instead of using black, they used the opposite color in there. So you can really see that. And you need a nice big palette. The white goes in the middle, and then and always put the colors in the same place. So I know, boom, when I need that yellow, I know exactly where it is. It's always there, same spot. Yeah. Yeah, smooth, rough, direction. Yeah. And then just the light, the sun catching the. Isn't that fun? You can really have fun playing with that. See the light catching the trees. Okay, I think we're ready to wind it up here. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. And yeah, try plein air painting. You can do it with acrylics. With the acrylics, you use a spray bomb. You got to spray your canvas down. But you can do plein air with acrylics. Okay, I'm done. Thank you very much.